I actually had a pretty radical change in my life when I gave my life to Christ. And for most people, they think that all Amish are Christian. They're these good people. And there are a lot of good Amish people, but the majority of them are not Christian. They're just living a good, disciplined life.
Well, Enos, welcome to the Quest podcast. Good to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on today's episode. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this Quest Life podcast, we love to share stories of questers. You just attended Quest April of this year.
Yes, I did.
And so you're also a podcaster. You have your own podcast, and so your story intrigued us enough to say, hey, let's have Enos tell his story. So here you are today.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate you having me on.
So number one, let's just get it out there. You're from an Amish background and you dress. So tell me why you dress this way.
Yeah, I get that a lot. Not only in person, but also online, the online communities. Yeah. Half of them are confused and the other half understand.
So tell me why do you do it?
I do it because, so for those that didn't grow up Amish, like there's a lot attached to the clothes. There's a lot of self-righteousness. There's a lot of different emotions that are attached to the clothes. So when I left, I put my clothes away, didn't ever wear them for, I don't know, probably 10, 15 years. And I realized when I put them back on to start showing people what it looks like to dress as an Amish person, the way I used to dress. This is exactly the way I used to dress when I was Amish. And so I realized that there's still those emotions there. And so just working through that and being okay, being completely comfortable with the clothes. Now I just have fun. I'm completely comfortable. I'm completely set free from all the stuff that, cool. The emotions that are attached to it. Like feeling like you have to, follow the rules and stuff like that. So the short but long answer is I do it to have fun with the clothes. Yeah. And plus people really enjoy it online. They love seeing.
And I think it's interesting because it becomes a story in itself, right? How old were you when you began to kind of think through, I've got to change something in my life?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you asking that. I think for me it was, I grew up in a family, small town called Lanesboro, Minnesota, southern part of Minnesota, close to Iowa, Wisconsin border. I grew up in a family of, there's 13 of us, but my 3 oldest brothers passed away before I was born. So they passed away in a house fire. My parents lost my 3 oldest brothers at one time, the only kids they had. And then I was the second youngest out of 13. So that's where I was placed in the family. So I was the last one to leave home. And the way that the Amish families leave, like if they leave the Amish, they just usually leave in the middle of the night. So picture one of your siblings within your home, and then the next morning you wake up, they're gone, and there's a note left behind normally. Hey, like I left the Amish, I'm not coming back. It becomes a very emotional time. They treat it like a funeral almost, like that person is dead in their eyes. They're not coming back. And it becomes a very sad and just depressing time for a while. But so everybody in my family had left prior to me leaving. Wow. So it was a really difficult season for me to walk through. But the Amish, they don't do counseling, at least not the way I grew up. Like they don't talk about the emotion side of things. So everything's pretty much emotionless. If you can imagine that. I mean, it's pretty sad actually to not be able to talk about those emotions as a kid. At least I'm a father of 5, and so I can't imagine not talking to my kids about their feelings and stuff like that. But anyway, so me growing up that way, I was second to youngest, left when I was 19, I ended up telling my parents that I'm leaving just because.
So you didn't just leave the note? You really kind of talked to them?
Yeah, I didn't just leave a note. At the point of me leaving, there had been enough of my siblings that had left the Amish that, they were pretty familiar with them leaving. Like, it was just kind of a common thing. If you can imagine, there's only 2 of my siblings that are still Amish, the way that we grew up.
So what makes, if you could just summarize, like, what is the reason they leave and what is the reason you left? Like, what is that thing that made you say, okay, I'm done with this?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I feel like everybody comes to that kind of idea or thought individually, but for a majority of them, it's the strictness of the rules. So it's like the rules are so harsh, and as a kid, you can't ask questions much about the rules at all. They don't want you touching on that. They're just set in place by your forefathers, and you follow them or you don't. Yeah, and so as a kid, I was really curious, and so I would ask a lot of questions, and that doesn't go over well. Like, you don't become a very good Amish person if you ask too many questions.
So at 18, so overall, I'm sure there's different emotions behind it, but you'd say the big issue is it's kind of a life that suffocates you. Like, the legalism, the law gets to a point where you either like succumb to it, right? Like, you go, this is safe for me and I will live this way. Or internally you say, I just can't live this life. And then you choose to leave, which is a major decision.
It is.
Right? Like,
yes.
I mean, you even said, they even count you as dead almost, right? Like, you don't exist anymore, which is a harsh cutoff. And you came to that point at 18. And when you told your parents, what was the response?
So at the time of me leaving, so my decision, my personal decision for leaving was, I actually had a pretty radical change in my life when I gave my life to Christ. And for most people, they think that all Amish are Christian. They're these good people. And there are a lot of good Amish people, but the majority of them are not Christian. They're just living a good, disciplined life. Right. And so when I gave my life to Christ, I was living as like a really horrible person, as an Amish person. Really? And when I gave my life to Christ, I realized that all those rules that have been like put on me, they mean nothing. They're just put there by man. And so I felt really free to leave. And at that point, I felt free to share with my parents what happened and why I'm leaving. Like, I'm not just leaving to rebel, but I'm leaving because I found this new freedom that's only found, I believe, in Christ. And so my mom was pretty relieved because she saw me as a very angry, individual that was causing a lot of grief within the church because I was making sure that everyone knows I'm not following the rules.
So, like, give me something like you did. What do you do?
So it was like, yes, yeah. I mean, using drugs, alcohol, destroying property, just threatening to get in fights with the bishop, stuff like that.
So you were really kind of aggressive then.
I was very aggressive when I was a teenager because I saw them treating my parents a certain way, and the way they go about doing this, they shun your parents. If I'm not behaving and I'm not a member, they can't shun me, but they can shun my parents. Got it. And so that made me even more angry. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So you actually experienced Christ, and in experiencing Him gave you the freedom to kind of walk away from that lifestyle.
Yes, sir.
And so you just left. And when you say left, that seems like you left to what? Did you have something set up out there, or you just kind of wandered the streets?
Yeah, so it's a very gives me the chills to think back now, just on that time. But you leave basically with nothing, really? And so I had $5 to my name, and I left and very little clothes. Thankfully, I had siblings that had left before me, so they were kind of able to like give me a place to stay, just a bed to sleep in. And so I stayed, between siblings, I stayed at each one of their houses for a while until I found a place to actually stay, and ended up renting with my brother for a while until I could get out on my own.
That's amazing. So fast forward to Amish Rebel, like, is it the Amish Rebel?
The Amish Rebel, Amish Media Group
is
what it's
handle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Amish Media Group is also you?
Yes, yeah.
So the Amish Rebel. So, what called you into the that world of the Amish Rebel podcast?
Yeah, so I left and I had that encounter with God, and my life just radically changed from there. And I always kind of felt the nudge to eventually share my story, hopefully help teach others that are leaving that, leave for the right reason, basically.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of kids that leave. They get into, they experience the world in a harsh way.
I see.
And so I kind of left before I experienced all that, so I had the two different tastes to kind of combat and realize which one's good and realize which one's not good.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was like telling you, I'm originally from Belize, that has huge Amish communities in that country. So a lot of my friends growing up looked like you. And I was this little Spanish kid running around with Mennonite friends.
Wow.
And I remember
That's
Sundays we'd go visit them. There was these locations. One was called Shipyard. Shipyard was the conservative Mennonites.
Okay.
Like they didn't believe in owning anything, like with rubber tires, and they did a lot of agriculture. And then you had Blue Creek, and then now we have Spanish Lookout, which is the largest one, more progressive.
Oh, okay.
But I remember Sunday afternoons going shooting birds, and then going into the shipyard and meeting a lot of the Mennonite kids, and they were in the pond swimming, and we'd have liquor. And they were all drinking. I'm like, these kids love liquor, right? So you're right.
Yeah.
They had this double life, right?
For sure.
And then on the side, they would take our rum bottles and then just swallow it. But, so I can see you and I kind of playing that game. So that's really, really great. So it's really a calling, right? Like you feel like even after this, you want to share your journey, your story, and help others in this journey of transition to realize that really Christ is the answer, and the freedom that comes with Christ is really, really good. I want to kind of go into your connection. I know your story is fascinating. There's a lot of elements to that, but I want to talk about your connection to the quest.
Okay. All right.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so I moved so my wife is from Ohio. I moved from Minnesota to Ohio. I met my wife there. We got married, and we immediately started talking about coming to Texas when we met. And because we just both love warmer weather. And then in 2018, we really felt called to move here. And everything kind of aligned for us to move here career-wise. We get here, I meet a guy by the name of Joshua Brandis, if you knew Joshua. I meet him at CrossFit, and we just became like fast best friends. So, we hung out all the time. We did a lot of stuff together, work out, hang out as friends, help each other. And Joshua is the one that nudged me to go to Quest. He's the one that, had been asking me to go to Quest, and I just kind of put it off. And then for those that don't know, Joshua passed away in a very sudden motorcycle accident. And I had actually just mentioned that, to him like the day before he passed, that I've committed to go to Quest. And
really?
So, yeah.
So when you went to Quest, it already had happened. He already had passed away.
He had already passed away. Yeah.
So
and then I get to Quest, and Quest has done so much for me. And this is not an advertisement for Quest, because you guys are not paying me to do this interview. I just want to make clear for the audience. It's like
your story and the intersection of your story with the Quest and the Quest life. And so your contact with Josh Brandis, he was the guy who really kind of connected you. And then you went to Quest. What did you expect? Tell us your first kind of experience at the Quest Ranch.
Yeah, I want to also just clarify, like the quest has been extremely life-changing for me. Like from the time that I got there until I left, and then even since I've left the quest, since I've left the week-long quest at the ranch. But yeah, showing up, I really didn't know what to expect. I was given very little information. I would nudge at him like, "Hey, what's it like? What's it about?" He's like, just go, like, and I had been through some other leadership training stuff. This is not a leadership training, by the way, but it just like some other trainings that they didn't give me any information, because it's kind of your own experience. And so I show up at the quest, didn't know anybody there, which was actually great. Like I tried getting 2 or 3 of my friends to go with me, and it didn't work out for either one of them. So I think God had me there.
Now that you've experienced it, it's probably a good thing.
Yeah, right? But I think God had me there for a reason. In fact, that was one of the things that I had talked to Joshua about. I said, "Hey, I'm going, but I'm bringing one of my friends." And the first thing out of his mouth was, "I don't know that that's a good idea." And he's like, "Wait, if God wants both of you there at the same time, it'll happen." And guess what? It didn't end up happening. And I tried several other friends, and it didn't happen. So anyway, I had a great, just a life-changing experience there. Kind of like realign my faith with God again, and understanding how easy it is to just connect with Him on a deeper level. Yeah. And gave me a lot of clarity for what I'm doing with the podcast. Really? So, yeah.
The if you go back, like, what's like one experience that you can talk about that just shifted everything for you? Is there one?
I think the one that was refreshed for me. I knew this in the beginning walks of my faith, but kind of got away from it, was how powerful listening can be. Just stopping and listening and being quiet, making that time, whether it's in your house or in a separate room, like making that time to be just quiet with God. If you're a believer, like, you probably understand what I'm talking about, but there's so much noise now with the internet, the smartphone. I feel like, not growing up with technology, I didn't put boundaries on technology for so long, like my smartphone. It's like, oh, this is the coolest piece of technology, You're just like using it all the time, and then realizing like, oh, that piece of technology has actually deceived me from spending time with God, or like it's gotten me away from spending time with God. So that was the big eye opener. It's like, just listen.
It's funny, pause. Because it's really something that takeaway is foundational to the thing, right? Like, if the fact that we allow you, or we try to remove the distractions from you for 5 days. Yeah. So we ask you for your phone and other things. We don't demand it. We should encourage it. And then, you have the day you go out and hear. So a lot of it is really is hearing from God.
Yes.
And so it's very profound to walk away with the essence of the quest life rather than the thing you do, right? So
yes.
To know that, because a lot of people get confused with, I want to do quest again. Well, do you realize why you can get that any day of the week if you apply certain principles, right?
Yes.
Like distraction-free, listening to God, because He's always speaking. You saw it on the event. The Lord wants to speak to us so much. And in different ways. He speaks to us the way we understand things, right?
Yes.
On that day of listening, if you can, what is something you heard that just rocked you?
Wow. Yeah, that's I think like He gave me I remember you're specifically talking about that one day.
It doesn't matter. It could be sometimes He speaks.
He gave me a vision, and I'm walking this out right now, but the one day I was just sitting and listening was, He gave me a vision of a prayer room and what that looks like, and that I'm to build one, which I'm in the process of doing now, which is not something that I would have ever thought to do, you know, even though I'm a believer, I'm a Christian. I always thought, you know, it'd be cool to have a room within the house that maybe I could go to listen to worship music and it's just quiet. But he specifically showed me how to build it, what it's supposed to look like, really? And majority of the details. And so it's not something big and glamorous, but it's something for him, and I think it's for me to get quiet with him, a place for me to get quiet with him. Good. So
it's really good.
Yeah.
The would you say, like, leaving that event, things change as a follower of Christ, as a father, as a husband? You know, there was, right, when you left, were you different? Did you see life different in some way from that experience? Did it made you different, the way you looked at your family, at your career? What difference did it make after you left that event?
Yeah, I think it, again, like going back into the battle zone, right? Going back to your family and just daily life. It's like, the way I see it now is like just taking the time to go pray, whether it's 5 minutes. I mean, and it doesn't have to be this big thing, like, right? I mean, it's times when I'm in a situation and I just pray under my breath, which makes all the difference, you know, in that moment. I think when I walked into the quest, I had so much pain and hurt from things that have happened in the last, because I lost my father and then I lost my mom and then Joshua's accident. And so there's a lot of pain and suffering that I wasn't really communicating to anyone. Yeah. And so now bringing that to God, you know, after the quest is like, okay, I'm feeling this way, but I can bring it to God in prayer right then and there.
I would imagine that the comfort, your story really was meaningful for you then, huh?
Yes.
I mean, because that's what we do, is like tell your story and then realizing that our hearts need comforting.
Yes, absolutely.
From the losses,
yeah.
right? So we're talking about, I'd imagine there, if you, looking back, what was one of the things the Lord really, really comforted you on?
Yeah, me personally there was, I think, just the guys like listening to my story and comforting me in my story, you know. And then
you've had a lot of loss. I mean, just listening to your story briefly with your siblings you lost in the fire, right? Like you lost. Yeah. I mean, that's traumatic. That's a lot of trauma there. Your parents, your friends. So there's been a lot of loss in your life.
Yeah, I think like my siblings. Obviously, I wasn't born when they were, but it's still like that. You know, talking to my parents.
Part of your story.
Yeah,
it's part of the family.
Yeah,
right?
part of being. Yeah.
And probably they never received comfort for it.
They did not. No, and you could see that in their entire lives. Like, even though in the later years my mom gave her life to Christ, like she was still kind of living. I mean, she lived to honor my dad, but anyway, they just never sought counseling, like got professional help. Yeah. So you could see that in their lives too. They both, you know, they were in their 70s, but in my mind, they had a lot of years left. You know, it's like, just.
How about your siblings? Where are they? Are they still? You have a few siblings still living and.
Yeah, so I have one brother that's still living the Amish way, like exactly the way that we grew up, and he's very strict.
I see.
I'm actually about to make a trip to go see him, but.
You get along with him?
Yeah, I probably get. I mean, I have some good conversations with him, and for some reason he respects me in a different way. I don't know if it's because of our adopted children that we have, like, because like for some, like, again, like that's not very common in our communities, is to adopt. So like for someone like me that they deem as deceived and lost, like that's not an act that a lost person would do, I guess, even in their eyes. So it's like, I feel like it opens up a different conversation with him, where normally he'd just be closed off and not want to.
You know, it's funny because it makes sense. I mean, if you leave the Amish community, and they perceive you to be lost, right? That's the
Yes.
perception, because
Yeah.
they have the truth, per se, and you're deceived. But then you enter a lifestyle that's really godly, adoption,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Living a life following Christ. That must be confusing for them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
going and getting drunk and having sex with women and all this, or living a very loose life, they can go, oh, that's why they're deceived.
Yeah.
right?
See. Totally.
But when they
yeah.
look and go like, wait a second, there's something different. Actually, something seems godly and right. Adopting,
Yeah.
that would be kind of really they've got to grapple with that, I would think.
Yeah.
Like your brother.
Yeah, and I didn't speak to my brother for years and years after I had left, and I didn't really know what to think. But then my parents passed, and I could just tell he had a different respect for me than he had when I've last remembered of him, leaving. And so when I left, and so it has been eye-opening. I've had some biblical conversations with him, which is usually they cut that off at the very beginning. They don't want to talk Bible stuff with an outsider like me. They would talk scripture with you because they don't see it as a threat for them leaving. So it's like, yeah, it's definitely been interesting.
Right. So, all right, I want to talk a little bit about your podcast. Give us a little bit about the Amish Rebel. Just a little background, why you do it, what's the goal, and just let us kind of into that story of your podcast.
Okay.
Just
Yeah, I
briefly
appreciate you asking me about it. I set out to just share stories similar to what you guys are doing, which I think is amazing. And I thought I was just going to share stories of, whoever wants to share their story. And I had done a lot of work to run from my past. I don't want to be associated with the Amish. I don't want to have my name tied to it in any way. And I think God had just showed me as I began to share stories on the podcast that it's very clear that I'm supposed to reach the Amish community and that I'm supposed to document those stories of the kids leaving. And so that's what I'm focused on now. Anybody that has, left the Amish or, is looking to leave the Amish, they're welcome to come on the podcast and share their story. And so
we as outsiders get to listen into that conversation.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Because
Because we're
absolutely.
intrigued when we see the clothing, we see the person, and then they talk. It's like you expect law, and then you hear grace. Right? It's like again, that's the two things we battle with, right?
Yeah.
It's like law and grace.
Yeah.
And so God's beginning to teach you the grace-filled life versus the law, because the law cannot produce righteousness.
Yes.
Right? We try.
Yeah.
It's a system that goes, we can produce righteousness. But the Bible is clear. Jesus says the law cannot produce that. The law only shows you where you lack.
Yes.
So that then you can run to grace.
Yeah.
So to imagine your story, seeing you dressed like this and speaking of grace. It was funny because I was watching one of your podcasts with, there's a female, I think your cousin, or you told me your cousin. And you were talking
My
about
niece,
your niece, and
yeah.
you were very open. And I thought, what an interesting conversation, because you were talking about sex,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I thought, that's interesting. You have the
Yeah.
Amish young couple talking about sex and just exploring, like, can an Amish have sex with an outsider or something like that? And so it was intriguing. It really draws your attention to it, to the conversation, what God has called you to do. So it's really good that you are, just obeying God, and your story will matter, will help others in the journey out, to experience Christ, really.
Yeah.
Because, you are an oxymoron.
Yeah.
You dress like a
Yeah.
Mennonite,
Yeah.
but you speak grace, right?
Yes.
You left the Amish community as a rebel, but you're left with Christ. You didn't leave with the bottle, right?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of it's such a really dynamic thing that God's using with you.
Yeah.
I would say keep doing it. Yeah, keep
Thank you.
pursuing that.
I appreciate that very
I love
much.
the story, and the quest was meaningful to you, and really the big takeaway from you, if you could say the one thing that Quest Life equipped me with was what?
Yeah, it's the simplification of conversation with God. Like, just, I mean, that to me is it was not a new concept, right? It was more of like a fresh reminder of like, okay, he wants to spend time with his children. And like me, as a guy that grew up under the law and following all these rules, I in my mind had made it too complicated. Well, I got to get to this place. I got to spend 30 minutes reading my Bible. No, he wants conversation right here, right now, whether it's 2 words or 5 words or whatever it is. And so just the simplification of like, hey, I can talk to God at any point throughout the day, and I don't have to make it a big deal.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for your story. It's amazing. I'll keep following you on your podcast, The Amish Rebel, because I'm intrigued by your conversation. And keep doing it. Keep telling your story. Keep telling your story. I believe God's going to use it to help a lot of people, especially those who are leaving the law. Yeah. Forget the Mennonite community. That's just a representation of the law.
Yes.
But even in the Christian church today, we struggle with law. And it's structured around law. Yeah. And the Lord is calling us into grace.
Yes, he is.
And to live a life that's free with him, where we don't want to sin.
Yes.
We're not forced by the law to try not to. Our joy is not to do it. And that's really the beauty of the gospel, right? It's the grace-filled life where he empowers us. Yes. Grace is his empowerment to live out the life, not my will. I don't have a will strong enough. So, hey, man, thanks for your story. Appreciate it very much. And for those who want to follow him on the Amish Rebel Podcast. Great stories, great conversation you hear from Enos and just his story. So thank you for sharing your story with us.
Man, thank you so much for having me on. Yeah. I'm really honored that you guys asked me to come do this. So
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Yep.